Aloha, my name is Rich Godfrey with Koa Works Ukulele, and today we're going to talk about shell inlay, hand cut shell inlay. And you are going to need a jeweler saw, and I've opted to use the extra fine blades, and a Dremel with a very, very fine inlay bit, which you can get from Stuart McDonald's. That's where I get mine every time I break one. And also you have an attachment here for a blower. So as you're working and creating dust, it'll keep it free from your workbench so you can see what you're doing. So the first thing I do is I have a template, and this is my logo, the turtle, Honu. After I have put a thin piece of brown tape here, I will draw out my Honu on there, and after it's removed, it'll look like this. Before I cut out the entire shape of the turtle, these voids here, I use a 2mm bit, and I'll drill a small little hole on each side so I can get my saw in there. I want to have to open up one side so I can pull out one end of the blade through and put it in the hole. That way I can get in there and cut this void out. After these two have been cut and I cut around the entire shape here, I clean up the edges with 320 grit sandpaper and have my logo. I will glue it to the surface that I want to inlay it on with very, very little glue. I'll use a little dab on the back of the head and a very, very small dab on the back of the tail. Not too much glue, because when it comes time to remove it after you've scribed your lines, you may break it or you're going to mess up the surface where you want to do your inlay. When the turtle is dried on there, you're going to use a scribing pin here, and with your optivisor that you're going to need, you very carefully start at the top and you work your way around the entire areas that you're going to want to run your Dremel in later after you've scribed your lines. After you've made all your lines, I use an X-Acto knife. I very carefully slide it under the head area and pop that up, and usually the bottom will pop up too when one side pops up. Now you have your scribed lines. I like to get dust from the shell that I'm going to be inlaying, and it'll basically come out white. I'll put the dust into the voids, those lines that I've cut into the surface that I'm going to inlay. That way you can see what you're doing. Then you'll be ready for your Dremel, and you attach your blower hose so you're free of dust as you're working, and you're going to carefully follow those lines right to the edge. When all the routing has been completed, you'll get your inlay, do a test fit. When you see that it can get in there, what I do is I'll remove the inlay, put in some glue in all those voids, place my logo there, and then I'll use a wooden caul here and a wooden caul here, and I'll use a C-clamp and gradually clamp it into place. And then later, after it's dried, I sand it flush, and I'm ready for my pour fill. And that's the simple way of doing hand-cut shell inlay. Aloha.